Rhythm Purgatory.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VML. I am Skybilz, and alongside me, my co-caster here is the wonderful Kuro, and we are excited to be here for Season 12, Week 5. Yes, I had to ask that right before the cast because, oh my goodness, I cannot believe we're already in Season 12. What is time? Anyways, a few things about the VML before we get started, y'all. Welcome to the VML. We are sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. We're an 11-week long MTGA league, which showcases the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. This is, again, season 12, week 5, and there are 128 total players. They were divided into 16 divisions, did 6 weeks of round robin play, or we are in that process right now. And now, after we have a round robin play, there will be a cut to the top 32. So, what is everyone playing for? Well, in addition to cash prizing, the top 16 get a qualifier weekend badges, and the top 8 get RC invites. And if that wasn't enough, they get to compete in our capstone event, the VML Championships, where the top 8 players from seasons 11, 12, and 13 duke it out. And the top players will receive invitations to the following Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. So again, high stakes here. We are in week 5 of 7 here in season 12. So there's a lot on the line here. And again, if you're watching this and you compete in the VML, who knows, by watching some of these decks, that might help you choose your deck for next week. Kuro, how are you doing? It's wonderful to have you here with me.
I'm doing great. I can't wait to see these matches. We have some really exciting ones lined up for you guys today. It's going to be great.
Yes, I would agree. I mean, again, there's just because the standard, and again, we're all adjusting to just, I'll call it like extended standard. Like this is like mega standard, right? There's just so many different decks that can be played, and you can't stop them all, right? So, how would one go preparing for that? Well, one of the ways in which you do is just to practice over and over. That's why I'm so grateful VML has so many weeks of round robin plays, so many seasons. And speaking of deck choices, let us see the breakdown for this week in our metagame slide. And it looks like, 17 teamer analysts now. I wait because I love showing my reactions here. 17 teamer analysts, 13 Azorius control, Boros Convoke, and Esper midrange. One of those is not like the others. 11 Golgari midrange, 8 domain ramp, 7 Gruul aggro, and then we have the, Bant toxics, mono reds, etc. 14 other fringe decks. So, Kuro, how would one prepare for a deck going into next week in such a diverse format? Where do you recommend we get started with that?
Well, it's kind of wild that we have our top 3 decks that we see here are combo, control, and then aggro, all in a row. So preparing for this metagame would require you to have your list span the breadth of the strategies that are being given. Teamer Analyst is very, very versatile, has a lot of tools for card advantage and anti-aggro pieces, and can have a really devastating combo that's difficult for control to fight with. Azorius Control has some of the best removal encounters we've seen in a while in Standard, and Boros Convoke can be extremely explosive in the first 4 turns. All of them have their strengths and very few weaknesses, and so addressing those threats are going to heavily depend on, especially, the skills of sideboarding this at this point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot stop it all. So you have to think about what strategy is your deck the most weak to and try to adjust for that. But again, just try not to spread out those sideboard strategies too thin. I would absolutely agree with that. So let's take a look at our first match. As Kuro said, let's go right into the action here. I like that. So here we have Nora Martin and 4-0, by the way. Congratulations. Very, very awesome. And this is Golgari midrange. We were talking about Golgari midrange during the pre-show and all the different potential it has. And I've seen all different kinds of builds of that. This one kind of plays along with the whole Deep Cavern Bat, Preacher of the Schism, Glissa Sunslayer. Again, kind of going along with turns 1, 2, 3, those early turns, meaning everything here. Kura, what do you like most about this deck, and how would one prepare for Golgari midrange?
Well, Golgari midrange is extremely, it can be sort of inexorable in the sense that you have creatures that come down and all of them generate some form of card advantage. You have the Caustic Broncos giving you card advantage by drawing you extra cards. The Sentinel of the City is very nice for giving you map tokens. You have all you have your other spells like a Grave Crawler, the Graveyard Trespasser, exiling your opponent's cards. It's just all around just playing good quality cards at good quality prices. It's almost like a discount shop.
Yeah, there's just so many cards in this deck that just, again, they don't do one thing. They don't do two things. They do three things. So it's like a but wait, there's more kind of deck would be a good way to summarize that. Great deck. Let's see who their opponent is. You know, when I saw the wilderness reclamation, I'm glad this was mentioned. Also, everyone say hi to Phoebe. Phoebe's awesome. But yeah, wilderness reclamation in particular, I was thinking to myself, surprised Nora's not playing analyst because that also kind of plays in the same vein of combo. But yeah, wilderness reclamation is definitely, as she put it, one of the decks of all time. So again, their opponent, we have Kayla Davison here. And she is running Esper Midrange again. Pretty popular one. We've been seeing this one all season. And again, we cannot get rid of that dang bat. A Deep Cavern Bat is always going to be one to look out for in a deck like this. Of course, Reavh, which could arguably be one of the best decks of this huge standard. Again, pretty standard fair deck. Always watch out for Shieldred. What do you think is going to be the key for Esper Midrange in this match, Kuro?
Well, both the players are going to be fighting for playing value creatures with card advantage. But the thing about Kayla that they have over Nora is the fact that they are playing the Deep Cavern Bats. There wasn't a single copy of Deep Cavern Bat in the Golgari list. So we're going to be seeing a lot of hand hate. We're going to be seeing some Duelists of the Mind, a new card from Streets of New from Wild West, finding some value. We got a lot of removal and just everything seemed with each other.
Yeah, and one last thing here before we go down to the action here. Which MTG character do you wish we'd seen in a Western hat? Probably one of my favorite answers here to this type of question. All of them. Everyone should have been in a cowboy hat. I mean, if Fibblethip can sport it, almost anything can. So think about your favorite Magic character wearing a cowboy hat as we go down to high noon, as we go into the first match of the evening here. And this is the opening hand. That's a lot of real estate, Kuro, but overall decent curve.
I do like it a lot because the Caustic Bronco can come down turn 2 and start drawing cards. Liliana of the Veil is also very nice because she can just clear the way. Even though Nora might start losing life from the Bronco in the early game, she will be able to get that value back with the cards drawn. Dark Confidant, after all, was one of the best black cards in Standard of all time.
Well, this Deep Cavern Bat is going to have something to say about Nora's hand here, as Liliana the Veil is confiscated temporarily, but here comes Caustic Bronco, and that is going to be a land off the top, costing no life for Nora to have as we go into Kayla's turn. So the question is now, we see the hand, we see the real estate here, and again, we have no knowledge currently of Kayla's hand. What do you think is going to be the best strategy here for a deck like Esper Midrange early on?
Well, getting the Deep Cavern Bat turn 2 is almost always the right play, just so that you know what your opponent has. Knowing that Nora has nothing but lands in Gix's command, Kayla sees the green light to play other threats like Reavh. She knows that Reavh is not going to be hit by something like Go for the Throw or Cut Down because they're simply not in the hand. After that, just getting in the red zone, getting those Reavh triggers is all going to be very important.
All right, so that is going to be a Glissa off the top here. As the Bronco, again, the Bronco doesn't need to connect with the opponent's life in order to get the card off the top. But again, that is yet another land. We're freeing with the block here. No life changes. We head into Kayla's turn. And again, just a ton of lands here for Nora overall. And that is a Wandering Emperor for Kayla. And let's see what the choice is going to be here. So again, you were talking about a green light of sorts. Knowing what's in Nora's hand, do you still feel like it's full steam ahead here for Kayla?
I think it is. Gix's command is pretty expensive, but it is going to make Kayla sacrifice something probably. Or no, actually, yeah, it'll probably. Oh, why might not? Oh, this is interesting. Depending on what Kayla discards here, Kayla knows that Nora has a Gix's command. So Kayla may want to play around the board wipe that all creatures power 2 or less, because Nora can simply buff the 2/2 to a 4/4. However, if Kayla makes the Raffine too big, she's committing everything into the Raffine, and it's easy to make Kayla simply sacrifice it instead. Also losing the Wandering Emperor. Nora at this point has drawn 2 cards with Caustic Bronco, going up to 3 cards this turn, which means that is a 2-mana draw 3 cards. That is insanely good value.
All right, Caustic Bronco into Wandering Emperor here. Nothing can be done. So goodbye, Wandering Emperor. And now in the main phase 2, we get to see how Nora is going to set up here. And that is a long goodbye for the Deep Cavern Bat. And it looks like we're going to see a little bit of Lily of the Veil action here. And that is going to clear up Kayla's field here. So again, a lot of back and forth here. You can't really tell who has the aggro or the control role here, Kuro.
I think it is Nora that has the control role personally, because Nora has the card advantage and the removal spells to back it up. The Glissa Sunslayer was not necessarily the biggest threat on the board, because the Caustic Bronco at this point is going to draw 4 cards for Nora. Even if Kayla were to spend removal on the Caustic Bronco, at this point it is heavy card disadvantage. And although Kayla has played some quite good cards, Raffine does not give you card advantage. Deep Cavern Bat does not give you card advantage. The Wandering Emperor was a 1-for-1. So unfortunately, in the long run, Nora is going to have more options the later in the game.
All right, looks like Bronco down the middle first has not activated anything off of Lilia. That is yet another land. And again, while that may be perceived as bad luck, keep in mind that every land off the top is 1 less land that Nora can draw here. So just something to think about going forward. And we get to see the reaction from Kayla. So nothing pre-combat. So again, card gets drawn, no problem. But there is something it looks like maybe Kayla can do. Maybe not so much. Bronco connects for 2 as we see the +1 from Lily of the Veil. And this is where that excessive land draw is going to come into play here. So we saw that that is a Tidebinder off the top for Lily. So I got to ask you something now. Kuro, how do you feel about that play knowing that that was used for Liliana and not for the Bronco here?
I think it makes sense to use it on the Liliana. Kayla reasonably thinks that Nora at this point has a removal spell. Nora did not go all in with the cottage, meaning that there probably is something to work with there. Also, maybe Kayla wanted to Tidebinder the cottage. Countering the Bronco, I think, is sort of sunk cost at this point, because it's drawn so many cards. I don't know. There is an argument. Oh, but if the Lily pluses and then is able to minus, then sacrificing the Tidebender is not so great. I don't know. Kayla's kind of in a bind here. I think countering the Bronco or Liliana are both kind of not amazing choices, unfortunately. I mean, the Bronco is quite good, but the Gix's command is going to make that Tidebender go away, or at least from Kayla's POV. And this Go for the Throat is even more devastating, because now the Liliana is going to be allowed to activate. It's just a lot of Nora has all the answers basically, and there's nothing Kayla can really do about it. Oh man.
Speaking of having all the answers, yeah, I was gonna say duress is a heck of an answer here in this matchup, but there's going to be no more lives.
Yeah.
However, that's a toll that could be paid. But opting to not pay the toll as the Liliana +1 makes sense here.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to pay the toll because the 1-for-1 has already happened. The No More Lies has been removed from the duress. So you might as well plus Liliana, get rid of the land, and just call it a day.
Nora hangs on to the Gix's command as we go into Kayla's turn. And gonna see maybe some swinging here from Preacher? Yeah.
The Preacher's really nice here, actually, because Kayla's at a higher life total. The Preacher will always draw a card. If it lives, that is.
All right, we have an animated cottage here. And now we may get a chance. No activation here on Plaza.
Well, the Plaza of Heroes can only give legendary creatures proof and indestructible, unfortunately. And the Preacher of the Schism, although really good and could theoretically be legendary based on what it does, it is not legendary, in fact. It is simply just a creature. It is just a silly little guy.
All right, Lily here with the +1. Go for the throat in the bin. And remember, there is still a land that both players can animate here. We have the cottage and we have the burb. So, cottage gets animated here. Looks like we're going to see a swing. Yep. And exile choice.
There's nothing graveyard based in Kayla's deck, so I don't think the choice really matters that way. Oh wait, hold on. I'm lying. Tucking exists. So Tucking exists.
Yes.
So killing the creatures is not a terrible. Is actually probably the best choice. So that if Kayla top decks the Tucking she can't use it to get back her best creatures.
All right, Anchorage here getting animated. Gonna prepare for a swing. Let's see where it goes. To Liliana, creating a map token, which is pretty big right now for Kayla. Kayla needs any way possible to generate some sort of card advantage here. So we see the map being activated, and that is another land off the top for Kayla. So what can Kayla do to get any sort of momentum here later in game 1?
At this point, I think it's all about activating the restless anchorages. A Rafina off the top wouldn't be bad because it allows those anchorages to get more counters. And if she's able to attack with the anchorages enough, she might be able to just win the game based on that. Unfortunately, the restless cottage is making food tokens. So if Nora is ever in a bad spot, she at this point has basically 6 life in the back burner just in case she needs it. It's especially nice that the Caustic Bronco has only drawn lands because Nora hasn't lost a single point of life with that Bronco. It's drawn 4 lands for free. That's crazy. It's so good.
All right, so there's another Anchorage activation here. And it is worth noting that there is, although not enough to activate it, there is a second Anchorage here. But we see Boseiju, who endures doing Boseiju things, destroying the land creature. And again, there is still another one, but it will not connect this turn.
It's a shame because Kayla actually could have activated the Anchorage with the previous Anchorage for 1 mana before fetching, but I suppose she didn't want to do that. She wanted to play the Deep Cavern Bat before it got discarded. This makes a lot of sense to me.
What a top deck for Nora here as Shieldred the Apocalypse happens, followed by a -2 of Liliana the Veil, restoring the Gix's command to hand. This is quite the predicament for Kayla.
Hey Sky, how do you feel about winning the game by playing a 4 mana 4/5 Death Touch?
I mean, I love Shieldred, so yeah, I'd say yes. But again, this is a little bit of a tighter game than it looks here because, again, we have, well, there is some food here for Nora, as you were saying before, Kuro. But if that Shieldred can oh, wait a second, hang on, that is a Fairy Mastermind, and that's a pretty big draw here for Kayla. However, we do have the drawing here, and Shieldred is going to start doing Shieldred things here. So I would say that priority 1 would probably be getting rid of Shieldred. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's so hard at this point to not be able to recover from the value that the Golgari midrange suggests as this cottage gets animated, Kuro.
Well, without the go for the throat, you have to block a creature because this is just lethal. With a single Shieldred trigger, that's just lethal. The Fairy Mastermind would block, but unfortunately, I can't see anything in Kayla's list that would help her get back, other than, I guess, another Wandering Emperor or a Shieldred of her own. But it's just, unfortunately, she's just so far behind here. And there's just a land in hand. Like, it is what it is. Sometimes it just gets you.
Yeah, would you consider Shieldred a format-defining card? Because now we're seeing lists of Esper and even Golgari with 1 or 0 Shieldred as we're going into the side deck portion here. What do you think about that so far? I mean, we're looking here at the Golgari mid list now together, and we're seeing Shieldred at 1. Is more than 1 needed in the current format?
I think the thing about Shieldred is that although it's an extremely good top end Braum, it also costs 4 mana, and this format is, I think, very much defined by what the first 4 turns are. If your opening hand has, say, like the Magic Gods have decided you're going to get 3 lands, 1 Duress, and 3 Shieldreds, you're probably going to lose that game because the removal, like Go for the Throat, kills Shieldred at half cost. So you're not doing very much. Shieldred's extremely good defensively. If you can land her and have her stick around, you can get a lot of life and fight against aggro. But if you don't have earlier stuff to sort of lead into it, it can't get you there. It seals the deal in an otherwise stalemate. I think that's what makes Shieldred so good. It's not a win more card.
I want to break the fourth wall just for a second here, and again, we do this live, but if you're watching this on a rerun, y'all have to see this. So, one of the players in the chat says you could tell how much caffeine I had that day by my mouse movements. Oh my goodness, truer moments have never been said in the game of Magic Arena. I feel that one. So, thank you for bringing that real aspect in here because, again, I feel that. But yeah, we're going into game number 2 here. Again, this is a great matchup. I cannot wait to see how this unfolds. So again, pretty okay hand here. Lands and spells, as a friend of mine used to say. Restless Cottage, down tapped, and then we had, of course, Rafine's Tower. Now you said it's how the first 4 turns go, Kuro. How do you feel about 2 tapped lands being played as we see what Kayla is going to pick here with Deep Cavern Bat?
Well, the good news is that Nora top decked a Blooming Marsh, so that's actually not a problem anymore. I was thinking about that. Turn 1 Tapland, turn 2 Tapland Duress is extremely slow, especially against Kayla when Kayla's deck is primarily creatures. But now that Nora has an untapped land, she has a lot more options. That Blue Deathcap Glade is always coming in untapped. She can kill the bat, she can Duress, she can Dread Knight.
I mean, what can't this deck do? Am I right? So we have Kayla here.
Exactly.
With the draw, Deep Cavern Bat down the middle to 21 we go. And again, did not see any long goodbye activations here. Makes sense with Rafine. Duress hits the hand. We finally get to see the opponent's hand, all right? I'm excited about this. What are you hot? No, we don't! That's a negate! All right. Hold the phone. Is there a second? No, that's a cut down. Dang, I was so curious. You deny us that knowledge, Kayla. Oh, goodness.
Well, that's one of two. That's one of 2 negates, and it was used on an early duress. That might be good right now. I don't know how it'll be in the long run, though. We'll have to see. The no more lies are probably being kept for the creatures, though. I have a feeling Kayla has at least one in her hand.
Well, that was a lie. We thought we were going to see the hand, so the negate might as well be a no more lies there. All right. Cavernous Souls likely being played here for Nora. And again, that was a very critical land draw there, important to say. So let's see what is going to be declared. We have human, makes sense for this deck. Lots of humans, at least for the front side and or non-adventure side of things. And it looks like we're going to get a chance to see the Graveyard Trespasser. And again, no countering here by that purple border as the negate gets removed. And now there's going to be a little bit of board presence theoretically, but let's see. And that is a Void Rend. Okay. But was this value worth it for Nora in the long run, Kuro?
I mean, it's neutral value, but the Void Rend going away is very useful because now we don't have to worry about. Oh, it's a no more lies this turn.
That's pretty good value. That's pretty good.
What is that about? That's interesting. And also the bat can be cut down basically for free now. Nora's thinking about it. There's an argument to be made that you do. Kayla has no manlands and no threats at the moment, and Nora doesn't.
Oh, a second Deep Cavern Bat. So now, let's see if Nora picks the cut down and does it on the new one. That is fascinating. But, this isn't fair. Why does Kayla get to see Nora's hand, but we can't see Kayla's hand? Dang it.
Well, that's what happens when, Nora's not playing any Deep Cavern Bats. So I think that's there's that asymmetry going on. And now the Duress is going to take the Gix's command, which is good, but that bat's dead probably from the long goodbye. Or maybe Nora's just going to slam some creatures down now.
Nora could be waiting for Rafine here. So we do see the land drop. And remember that Mosswood Dread Knight just has so much value to it. Again, going back to that value, it draws cards, it provides a 3/2 body. But again, that bat is still staying on the field as we go into Kayla's next turn. The bat's going to keep going down the middle. Let's see what happens next. All right, Denick, Pious Apprentice. Not bad, not bad. 2/3 lifelinker.
Denick's pretty good here. It blocks the Dread Knight, but the Dread Knight, if he dies, Nora just gets free value. I'm trying to think about the value for that, though.
So what is the counter to Denick? I would say Glissa Sunslayer, pretty good counter to the Denic.
I do agree.
All right, Glissa hits the board. Again, still 2015 here as we head into Kayla's next turn. Deep Cavern Bat, going to keep doing Deep Cavern Bat things, and why not? Down the middle for another one, up to 21, down to 14 for Nora as we head into the next turn, Awu, even though we have nothing that goes with it still. And just down the middle with the Glissa this time. What does Kayla have lurking in the shadows? That is an Iganjo. I did not say Elganjo this week.
El Ganjo.
Elganjo.
El Ganjo. That Deep Cavern Bat is dealt 5 damage. Oh my gosh.
All right, another tapped land here. Deep Cavern Bat down the middle.
At what point do you just say, "I'm get rid of that thing"? It's so annoying.
That dang
Get out of
bat.
here.
It has done so much damage at this point. So the bat's gone. Bat has done its job though. And what is that last card left in Kayla's hand? Oh, that's a Bronco off the top. Go ahead, Kuro.
My read is that it's probably either a Wandering Emperor or a Tishana's Tidebender. I don't think although she did already play a land, so maybe it's just a land. But I would definitely be, if I were Nora, I'd be very worried about a Wandering Emperor. I do not want my Dread Knights to be exiled. I want them to stick around. I want them to die so I can get value out of them.
Dang! Must it be so violent?
Yes. Yes,
as we
yes,
go into the tank here. So there are decisions to be made here for Kayla. And again, it's just one of those, what do you do with a card like Denic, right? Because when Denic comes back, again, it can come back from the yard and turn into something arguably stronger in this type of matchup, at least. How do you play around that here, especially knowing that, that could turn into something bigger, could lead to drawing more cards, for instance?
I mean, Nora's in a good position right now. She has 2 removal spells, so if that Denic dies in combat, she can just spend a removal spell on it later. And she has 2 Mosswood Dread Knights just kind of ready to go. So the card advantage is really, really in her favor. Kayla, unfortunately, doesn't have the same amount of card advantage, even with the Restless Anchorage. I don't think it's that much of a problem, really.
All right, Dread Knight down the middle for Nora. And now I guess maybe there's a chance to see whether or not the Wandering Emperor's there, which, that +1 on Denic looking pretty good if that's the case.
It does become a flyer, and it's a 3/2, which is kind of nice. Loses lifelink, I think, if I recall correctly.
So from the Wandering Emperor, it would be a +1. It would be a 3/4 with first strike. And that would mean more cards for Nora, certainly, because you could replay it as the adventure part.
I don't even know if you would let the Denic kill the Dread Knight. She has 2 removal spells in the hand. A Long Goodbye can be used so that the Good for the Throat can be saved for a Shield Dread, potentially.
All right. Connects for 18. We're going to see another Dread Knight hit play. And then, again, remember those red eyes for folks less familiar with Arena's interface. That means that those are visible to Kayla here. Important to keep in mind. Duelist of the Mind. Interesting card here. Is that one that...
It's a cool card.
Yeah.
But it's just like Raffine. It doesn't give you card advantage. It just loots through your deck like very efficiently. And I just don't know how I feel about that.
Long Goodbye is used probably for the cannot be countered text. And that is Boseiju off the top. Pretty interesting considering, as Kuro was saying, that is a Restless Anchorage on Kayla's side of the field. So again, what do you do with Golgari? You get more stuff. Another card is drawn. Marsh can be played. Boseiju can be used to do Boseiju things. And going to see a singular card down the middle. Denic blocks. Back up to 20 for Kayla. And
well, she's at 20. I guess she's winning the game now. Back up to 20. No.
Well, there's a little more to it than that. I mean,
I don't know. I think it's just This Bronco is gonna be really nice, by the way. Like, get that Dark Confidant down. Oh man, Time to lose some life.
All right, it is daytime again, but Preacher
Ooh.
of the Schism hits the board. Pretty good
Oh.
card, but that is I loved your reaction there. Ooh, oh. That is
Yeah,
literally out the Bael
I
off the
mean,
top.
the Preacher was actually a really fantastic draw for Kayla because that is like her really reliable source of card advantage. But that Lily just says, nope, you don't get to do that anymore. That is it. That is all.
I'll tell you, as much as I love Esper midrange, and again, that one will continue to be a favorite, at least until Rafine rotates. Then we'll see what happens to Esper mid. But for now, Golgari just, we were talking about it the whole match, right? Just the card advantage. The card advantage, Moss with Dread Knight, which you said may have not existed 10 years ago, which is something that I was thinking about throughout that entire match. Just adventures. Adventures always have so much card advantage, but that is one that just keeps coming back unless you exile. So, I guess the lesson to be taken away is maybe exile needs to be more of a thing in standard right now.
I mean, that's why blue eye control works so well because white has all the exile. Wow. I wonder what our next. No, I mean, just no, but like seriously, that's one of the reasons why, like in the breakdown earlier, the blue eye control decks are so strong because white can exile things so reliably when these threats are recurring constantly, repeatedly, and you need to get rid of them. And white does that most effectively.
Yeah, the card specifically, I would assume would be farewell. Just there's not a single format where in a control
Yeah.
matchup that's not that it just gets rid of so many threats, right? So something to think about. Exile. We don't see it a ton. All right, moving on to the next match. What do we have here? Woo, we have our very own Lady of the Crease, and she is playing Golgari midrange. So again, we can't get rid of the bats, we can't get rid of the Broncos. This is a fact of life here in OTJ standard. So again, very similar 75 to what we just saw here. Is there anything that Golgari midrange cannot handle, with the exception of maybe Azorius you were talking about, Kuro?
Well, it's interesting because you say Return to the Bat, but I don't see any bats in this deck either. I think the Golgari decks are just dropping bat from the deck list. That's really interesting. I think it makes sense though because you're cutting those cards in favor of cards that give you card advantage. Caustic Bronco again taking the slot of the 2-mana black creature and really just being, I guess, a lot more inexorable. Just a thing you can keep doing. Hostile Investigator making an appearance as well. A better Ravenous Rats. Love getting to investigate for freezies.
Oh yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm looking at the 75 and a little bit closer of a lens here, and you're right. It says it's there, but yeah, it is not there. So kind of an interesting thing to consider. I mean, Bronco and Dread Knight just knock the bat off this list, so definitely something to think about throughout this match. And again, let's focus on one question in particular, Crow. So we ask, do you think your matchup is favorable for you? And Lady of the Crease responds with kind of an awkward matchup where my opponent's playing an Azorius mashed up mid-range control deck. Oh, hey, we're talking about Azorius again. So let's see what her opponent's playing.
Here
So
we
here we
go.
go. Azorius control. And I'll make sure I pull up this deck list here for a little bit of a bigger look here. But yeah, here it is. All the cards that every aggro to mid player is afraid of. Sunfall in particular being played over Farewell. Should have noted that earlier. Farewell's good at dealing with multiple threats, but Sunfall is good. And we see more of the Sunfall than Farewell here. So is this truly the answer, Kuro, to most of the mid-range woes going around standard right now?
Well, fair choices to add Dust Animus and Novice Inspector, I think, are actually really good. They block really well, and Dust Animus in particular is extremely annoying to play against. It plots very cheaply, and it comes in as a 4/5 with lifelink for free as long as it's turn 5 or later. And in a control list, getting those lands down is easy. I mean, this deck has 27 lands in it. It's going to be very difficult to find a game where Faye isn't going to be getting at least 5 lands on the battlefield.
And one card that Faye chose that I really would like to say, hey, I love seeing this card, is the Eternal Wanderer. I mean, again, there's only one copy of it, but just the card is so powerful and truly does need to see more play. So I'm hoping that we get a chance to see some action from not one but two different Wandering Emperors. Excited to see how Fair's 75 plays out. So let's go down to the arena.
Pew 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 pew. Oh, here we
By the
are.
way, shout outs to the googly eye rock. I just have to say, I love the googly eye rock.
Oh yeah, that's my go-to mascot whenever I play this game. I always have the Rock, and whenever my partner's watching me, she's always like, "Oh my gosh, it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson."
So we do have under us here. This is very big, very early here for Lady of the Crease. And oh my gosh, this is the most Azorius hand, Kuro, that I think I can see early. What do you think about this keep from Fair?
You always take Fair's Memory Deluge because although the counterspells and removal are oppressive, Faye's card advantage is the thing you need to address the most. And so if you can get rid of that Memory Deluge really early, you're in business. Lady of the Crease making an interesting decision, playing a Tapland turn 2, not able to cast a Dread Knight on turn 2, playing around the counterspell, but I don't know.
I think we're in for a wild match here as Faye activates Field of Ruin. Field of Ruin here, getting rid of Lady of the Crease's cottage early. So again, Lady of the Crease activating a land here because why miss out on that? But again, just I'm looking at Talia's hand and it's so intimidating, Kuro. It's so just wild to see here. So, what should Lady of the Crease need to prioritize here early in game one, knowing what she knows about Talia's hand?
I think the thing is that playing around fair answers is difficult, but also if Lady of the Crease decides not to play anything into Fair's counterspells or Faye's counterspells,
Mm?
uh, it's just you have to force your opponent to have the answer when you're playing against control. If you don't do anything, that's what they want you to do. Um, Control players want you to do nothing because control players want you to play lands and nothing else. So if Lady Crease is playing it really, really slow to try to reliably land things, and Talia has answers, it's going to be over. But if Lady Crease plays a threat every turn, Talia may not be able to address it as easily.
Yeah, and in now Faye doesn't know this yet, but there is a Cavern of Souls in Lady of the Crease's hand, and that is one of Control's worst nightmares, right? Like that's you cannot counter creatures, and Control wants to have the creatures off the board here. How big of a role do you feel Cavern of Souls might play in this whole matchup?
Not that much actually. In Talia's list, there's 2 No More Lies, and that's the only thing that can actually counter creatures. Everything else is just removal spells or good blockers. In fact, counter spells. Oh, I guess there's a 3 steps ahead. I'm sorry, I completely missed those. There's 3 of those.
There's a lot.
But
There's a lot going on in that card.
yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is even with those 5 counter spells, uh, um, the Cavern of Souls, anything that can be cast with Cavern of Souls to say force the Shieldred through, Talia can go, okay, well I'll just not counter the Shieldred and I'll use get lost on it, and I'll just counter the other creatures that are more problematic or non-creatures like Gix's Chameleon of the Veil, or even the Mosswood Dread Knight's adventure ability. Overall, when I play against Cavern Souls as a control player, I can definitely say I don't really care that much. Like, okay, I can't counter your guy, and that kind of sucks. But overall, I have removal. Like Sunfall is incredible, Emperor is incredible, Farewell is incredible, Get Lost is incredible, and you have all these really good white removal spells that really just fill in the blank that where Cavern of Souls might be an Achilles heel.
All right. Well, we see a fairly early Gix's command here from Lady of the Crease, picking the modes of +2/+2 lifelink and return up to 2 creatures from the graveyard to the hand. So again, trying to generate as much value as possible. But it's important to note that with every single removal spell that Lady of the Crease draws, is it fair to say, Kuro, that those are basically just dead draws that will not make a difference on the impact of this game?
It depends actually, because if Talia were to play a Dust Animus, that's a really good thing to remove with those removal spells that would otherwise be problematic. In addition, Restless Anchorages are also extremely good to kill with those Go for the Throats, especially if Talia decides I'm gonna go ahead and activate this and try to attack you for like 3 damage.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, so the Go for the Throats are a little bit less dead in this matchup than they would be in a more traditional control matchup, because in a more traditional control matchup there would be less creatures to deal with.
Mhm.
But in this specific matchup, it's not that bad. Liliana will be interesting, but if Lady of the Crease discards a lot of her removal, then Talia will see that as a green light to basically just start slamming just start slamming the Dust Animus, just start slamming Denix, more Wandering Emperor tokens. Like,
Mhm.
Lady of Crease has some hard decisions here.
Well, we do have the Liliana the Veil off the top, as you were discussing, and this is what Lady of the Crease is choosing to play. That is a negate, though, from Faye. So Talia here just
Yeah.
saying, no, I don't want any of this. I want to be the only one with walkers here. As Lady of the Crease plays the dread. This is the turn here. And again, for as much that Golgari midrange can generate in terms of value, it looks like here Talia has just Faye has just built a huge value engine that even exceeds that of Golgari.
Yeah, Faye has one negate in the entire deck list. Like, that's how clutch that negate was. If
Wow.
you're wondering, like, just how amazing of a straight shot that was for the Liliana coming down, and Lady of the Crease has very few threats to reckon with. The Bronco is not going to be allowed to attack here. Faye has too much removal, and the Shield Dread is good-ish, but it doesn't kill Talia in like 2 to 3 turns. So Faye might end up just board wiping at this point with a farewell.
All right. Well, here comes Caustic Bronco. And I
Yay.
believe at this point, perhaps is it possible that Lady of the Crease is hoping to draw out a wipe, like the inevitable wipe, for instance?
If I were Lady of the Crease right now, I would definitely want to be drawing Hostile Investigator or more Mosswood Dread Knights. Uh, just because getting that immediate card advantage is really important. Like, Lady of the Crease cast the Dread Knight, I think,
Oh,
use did not even use a um the adventure.
this is a great play here if it works by Lady of the
Ooh.
Crease. Go for the throat on her own Mosswood Dread Knight to try to
Yeah.
continue to generate that value. This is valid. But that's another Wandering Emperor as Talia's face says, nah, mm-mm.
Okay,
Wow.
this is it. I would, if I were Lady of the Crease, I feel like I would call it at this point, because Talia has the removal for the Shieldred. Lady of the Crease has one land and one Go for the Throat. This is nowhere near enough to deal with what Talia is doing. I have a really hard time seeing Talia lose this game.
And Talia saying, what every player would like to say to an opposing Shieldred, get lost.
That was a really, really, really good bit. I thought that was
Oh, really? I thought I was going to get booed for it. I would respect the boo here.
no, that was really good. That was a really good bit. Yeah.
Hostile Investigator from the top here. Pretty decent value card. It connects, and let's see what Faye discards.
Oh
Uh,
wow, a card that doesn't matter if you discard it.
yeah, I
That's
was gonna say like that is a diminishing return for sure here. So again, gonna use the map, might as well. And that is a Preacher of the Schism on the top here. Probably not quite what Lady of the Crease is looking for, just considering the multitude of removal. But hey, it beats a land, so there can be a draw here because that is a clue token down there. But here comes another Memory Deluge, and I'll tell you something, Kuro. When I see someone cast Memory Deluge for that flashback value, I just immediately just go, oh, as a mid range and aggro player.
oh look, a 4/5 lifelink.
Ah, that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Yes, that is a 4/5 Dust Animus, and again, great card for control. Considering that it becomes the most powerful when you have a ton of lands on the field that are untapped, and well, that's just what Dust Animus does.
But wait,
There's
Talia,
more.
if out Talia is the second one, I wish I could see Talia's hand right now, because the second one would be absolutely hilarious. I would literally, I would love that.
I will tell y'all, you can't see up here in the booth what Kuro's doing right now. Kuro is just so excited to see Azorius here on the battlefield. And me, I'm just looking in terror here going, oh my gosh, this is so scary to see. Because I've been in this situation before. It is very difficult to stare at Azorius control, do Azorius control things, because it just looks unstoppable. And it is in so many ways unstoppable in scenarios like this.
I think a good thing to keep in mind is that Talia does not have March of Otherworldly Light, so as long as those Mosswood Dread Knights keep dying, it's actually not the worst thing ever. So I think being conscious and aware of that strategy and the fact that Get Lost is the primary removal spell for Talia's deck, that'll be a really important piece for that, I think.
Well, Faye picked a
In game
great
two.
Faye picked a great wipe, right? Like it wasn't just farewell. Sun, like if Rafine is one of the most powerful
Yeah.
cards in standard, Sunfall is right there with it, right? It does so much that every control player loves to see.
I mean, you compare it to something like Final Judgment, which was 6 mana just to exile all creatures, and now it's a mana cheaper, and you get a free creature to go with it. Like,
Hmm.
it's absolutely incredible what the card is and what it does, and it's I yeah, like it has to be 5 mana. Being 4 mana would be way too good. Way too good.
So again, there was, and we're getting this feedback from the chat just so everyone knows, there was a DC of sorts here. That's okay. That happens. It's arena. These things they do happen on computer programs. So again, we're kind of talking about how these two decks interact. And this is here we go. We're back. We're back. So here comes, and remember I told you I wanted to see both of these on the field. Well, here we go. It's happening. Eternal Wanderer is cast. And that card is terrifying and wonderful all at the same time, as long as you're the one who wields said card. Novice Inspector also. So, wait a second. This is a lot of creatures for control, Kuro.
That is true. However, all of these creatures do something important for the control deck. Dust Animus is a great lifelinker against aggro. Novice Inspector replaces itself upon entering the battlefield. And the token, well, if you could make a free 2/2 creature every single turn, I think you would always want that. It's pretty insane. It trades with everything. It slices the dices. It does your laundry. Does your taxes. It slaps your neighbor's face when they're being silly. Just it does everything for you with very little downside. It's just low key pretty incredible. And Lady of the Crease, if she decides to commit more than one creature, Talia just goes, well, time to farewell the board and rebuild with Wanderer tokens. So there's basically a lose-lose situation um, on Lady of the Crease's part. She can't commit creatures to the battlefield because of the board wipe, but she also can't not commit creatures to the battlefield because the Eternal Wanderer will be making tokens every single turn, making it impossible for Lady of the Crease to basically win the game. And that is what control is. It is a lock to lock your opponent out of the game by overwhelming them with the resources that you have available to you.
Well, speaking of lock, that's the Field of Ruin again, and I believe that's the last. Let's wait until the field comes back into play. I think that might be the only animated land that Lady of the Crease currently had. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 2/3, and it hits, connects, and that's going to be nothing but lands right now for Lady of the Crease. So again, as Kuro said, the game is basically on lockdown here. And that is another max cast memory deluge. Oh my goodness, the value, it keeps stacking for Talia.
300 megabytes on a floppy disk. Just the
Whew.
sheer value. I know. It's so many megabytes.
It is important to note, though, that Talia, Faye did a wonderful job. Faye did such a wonderful job of building up at this point. It's very hard to survive as control deep into the game, especially against a value generator like Golgari Midrange. So again, this is such a dominating board state, but it was very earned here by Faye.
I agree. I think it was really unfortunate that Lady of the Crease took the first 4 turns pretty slowly, trying to play around the counter magic, because ultimately, whatever hand Talia keeps, Faye's gonna have some removal spell, some exile spell. It's just gonna happen. So you might as well play into it if you feel like you have enough threats to deal with this stuff. But yeah, those are 2 lands. It's
Yeah.
you Sky. You like 4/5 flyers with lifelink? because
If they're working for me, yes. If they're not, no. And
guys,
this is
we have
where you say, "Can you play a wipe spell now? That sounds good."
we have Sarah Angel at home. Sarah Angel at home. Actually, it's not even at home. This is like better Sarah. Well,
Yes.
okay, not having vigilance is actually a pretty major issue, but other than that, like it's pretty incredible.
All right, Dread
And
Knight off the top. So this is more draw engine here. So it is another hostile investigator. Another and you're right here. The Cavern of Souls really hasn't played too much of a role here.
yeah, because the everything that Lady of the Crease has cast that could be uncounterable, Talia just goes, LOL, here's the get lost. Or just, I have wandering eternal wander, I'll just exile it forever. Or just one of a myriad of other answers. Or just, I don't even care about this creature. I'll just block it. Like, yeah.
One thing I love here about what
What?
Talia's doing,
What?
Talia.
What? Wait.
What?
Talia just discarded farewell. How good is Faye's hand to that discarding farewell is the optimal move right now? That's insane.
I would give a lot to see Faye's hand right now. That's a very good point. Wow.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I just felt like I had to
Oh
mention.
no,
Like,
that's valid. That's exceedingly
oh
valid.
my
I
god.
just wow. All right, let's see what's on the top. Duress. I mean, it's a little late for that.
Oh.
Duress is definitely an early game card, yeah.
In against control, it's actually not bad, even the mid game, because maybe Talia is 1 mana away from getting down an Eternal Wanderer, and the duress is clutch to be able to get that out of there. You can force Talia to use the counterspell on duress, which is extremely good mana value, because 3 mana to counter a 1 mana spell is like extremely inefficient.
That is so much value from Memory Deluge.
Goodbye, creature.
What a board.
And
What a board for Faye.
Yep.
What a board.
And that is 11 damage coming in all the way through. GG.
GG's. Wow. An impressive game one here for Talia. Just showing how dominating control can be. But let's go to the sideboard here. We were talking about this at the beginning of the show, Kuro. So the sideboard, especially in a standard like this, can make or break a matchup. And this one is no different. So if you are Golgari good stuff, as Lady of the Crease calls it, what are you doing here to hope to shift the tide of the match going into game number 2?
Take out removal, such as take out removal, put in unlicensed hearse. That hearse will single-handedly win you a game against control. What we'll notice is that Talia's artifact destruction is actually pretty minimal. There's a Lauren in the sidebar. There's a temporary lockdown as well. But other than, I mean, Tishana's Tidebinder actually counters the it actually does counter the hearse as well. But that hearse could be extremely crucial.
Yeah, this is a hard one. Remember how I said you can't prepare for everything? This is one of the decks that I do truly feel like Golgari cannot fully prepare for control. Like you can try to turn it into more of an aggro deck than a mid-range deck, and then you're racing against removal or wipes. But my goodness, that last match just felt so overwhelming if you are in the role of the Golgari player. But let's see what adjustments are made here. We don't know what Talia has done either by any means, so that's going to be interesting as well. We go into game number 2, and that is a 1 lander here from Lady of the Crease, and that is a mini lander now. So a little rough to start out against control, but this hand is much better here for Lady of the Crease.
Yeah, a multi-lander is normally not very good, especially against aggro, but against control, it's actually not terrible because they're not going to do anything for like 50 turns. I'm exaggerating. Control is not usually going to be doing anything for the first.
Are you sure? Because Faye just played a card turn 1. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true, but it is a 1/2 with no abilities. So if I were Lady of the Crease, I'd be like, well, that's a cool card. Anyway.
Ooh, that's now. I would say early game Cavern of Souls is big. Early game.
Yes, I do agree. I do agree.
Glissa
Talia's
on the field. Turn 3. Sure. Go ahead, Kuro. Sorry.
Talia's no, you're fine. Talia's almost certainly holding up a No More Lies right this second. So that cavern was actually extremely clutch. Unfortunately, Talia also has 4 copies of Get Lost. So
Yeah,
yep.
and this is turning into a little bit of a floody hand. There is the cottage though for Lady of the Crease here, and we are going to see Lily of the Bael. The shame is that it's like, what mode do you use for Liliana of the Veil here? Do you make Talia discard, or do you get rid of the card that's going to be swinging at this point?
I mean, the 1/2 is kind of not a problem.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm.
would probably just. It's hard because Lady of the Curse just has lands. There's no removal. There's no card advantage. Talia has probably, in contrast, like 4 spells, 3 lands, a Wandering Emperor, a No More Lies, a Farewell, or a Sunfall, and just a lot to work with. Maybe even a Mem Deluge. The
Mm.
discard is unfortunately not going to be that effective. The Novice Inspector is going to make sure that that can't tick up too much. Oh my god.
Wow. All right. So Lady of the Crease going
Okay.
for a little
All
bit
right.
more of the long game here. This is interesting, very interesting. And again, it is important to note that that cottage can animate and start doing some things here. That is a preacher of the schism. Very interesting off the top here. Lady of the Crease doing a great move here, selecting the correct order here. Do not want to give any knowledge to Talia here. And now this is a tricky one, but probably going to go for something more permanent. But that preacher could potentially be countered. So this is tough. This is very, very, very tough for Lady of the Crease. But the cottage does get animated. I mean, again, controls lifeblood here is the amount of lands. Oh, that's another get lost for the cottage. Is the lands that it possesses. Yeah, Kuro?
Yeah, the lands that it possesses are the friends we made along the way. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That get lost is really unfortunate, but it was sort of, yeah, like Talia is either holding the get lost or a No More Lies, or even both. Just they're just both in the hand, both those cards.
Oh,
Oh, that's so
checking.
unfortunate that Lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Lady doesn't have that 6 land to pay for the No More Lies. So if Talia has No More Lies, it's getting cast right now.
And we're going to see here.
This is a tense
Nope.
moment.
It connects.
Oh no, very nice. Oh,
Wow.
and the map resolved. Okay, so Talia's holding up Memory Deluge or a Wandering Emperor then, I think,
All
which
right,
makes sense to me.
so discarding
Yep,
for Deluge.
there it is.
Deluge comes first. And
Yep.
now there's going to be more choices here for Lady of the Crease.
Yeah, it's a land, so at least that's good. Lady of the Cubes can sacrifice another map token this turn, I think, from playing the Deathcap Glade.
Yep.
Tidebinder. What is Talia's hand? Discarding so much gas.
I'm going to
Oh,
say good. That is Talia's hand. Good.
yeah, good dot USA
Yes.
for sure.
Now, there is a restless anchorage right now in Fair's possession. Wedding announcement from Fair. Wow. Wow. That's pretty good right now. That is, I don't know what to say. And that is another get lost. But you called the
Oh,
Wandering Emperor.
wow.
You called it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the last 2 cards are that's a Tidebinder and a No More Lies, or a 3 Steps Ahead, I take
3
it?
steps ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
Which makes sense. I mean, it is possible that the No More Lies was
Um,
sided out because 3 steps ahead does what it wants to, but better, right? Especially when you're going second in your control.
Man, do you keep this duress here? It's hard to say yes or no,
Mm,
because
mm.
probably no, because the Tidebinder's there, but like Talia could always draw a non-creature spell and hold it up.
Yeah, that
Like
was
Faye could want to
tricky.
hold it up or bluff holding something up.
Yeah. That preacher, though, could go the distance unless Faye draws Sunfall or something of the like. Wow, that is a Shieldred off the top here for Lady of the Crease. This is getting tense. This is getting
What it,
exceedingly tense.
what creature did she choose with Cavern? Was it a it
It
was
may
a
have been
Phyrexian, right?
yeah, I think it was Phyrexian.
If so, then that's probably the best possible draw because it's uncounterable.
Yep, there we
Yeah,
go. Perfect
very,
border. Yep.
very, very nice. Very good draw there then.
All right, let's see what Faye discards. Nope, Tidebinder for Lily, as you called that one, Kuro, that we were gonna be seeing that very soon.
Yeah, the Tiebender on the Lily is unfortunate, but also uh,
Hmm.
not using the Tidebinder in the Shieldred is interesting because now the Shieldred is going to be allowed to do all sorts of wacky stuff, like deal 2 damage a turn.
Yeah, so that's 2 lands off the top.
Oh,
There's
never
the
mind.
Sunfall. There's the Sunfall. That was big. That was big for Talia. And now the wedding announcement flips over. Everything becomes just oh so stronger. And now Lily of the Veil kind of loses the ability to discard. However, there is that ultimate, Kuro. There is the ultimate of Lily.
That's
So this
true.
is
To get
this
the
yeah.
to get the ultimate off, Lady needs to plus the Lily. And if she wants to plus the Lily, she's probably killing the token and the land, but then the Sunfall token can attack Lily and kill her.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to sequence this. In Lady of the Crease's position, she's really on the precipice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
see.
That makes
The
sense.
the artifact token is gonna get Boseju'd, and oh, there's 2 restless anchorages. Oh
Mhm.
no. So Talia has 2 anchorages to potentially hit with. The first,
Okay, Anchorage is animated as you were talking about.
yeah. The
Okay.
first the first anchorage gets Go for the Throated, I think. And then the token gets Boseju'd? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Pew!
It does still make a map token, but again, Visagia doing Visagia things. It is important to note though that land draw was kind of big for Talia because Faye can now cast the deluge unless there's something that tampers with the graveyard. Now that is something. However, that might be a little late right now for Lady of the Crease because again, that's going to take a turn for it to sit there. But is there a second one?
Map,
Oh, that's
map,
clever.
map.
Okay, so map token
Ah!
for the Dread Knight on top. Wow, now this is suddenly looking like Lady of the Curse is turning the corner a little bit. But again, that is a deluge, and a
Oh.
Dust Animus is played. So, okay, so this is what's going to be happening. There is going to be a forced. Oh no, Dust Animus won't be able to be destroyed here. Interesting. But now the deluge can be removed from the yard via the cottage, and that is a sunfall on top.
Yeah, but
This is a lot.
there's no world where Lady attacks with the manland because the Dust Animus is going to block it extremely easily. That's just never going to happen. Lily's going to plus, and then the Animus is going to hit it, unfortunately, or the anchorage, and it's just I don't know. Lady Goose is running out of stuff to do.
Yeah, the sun falls on top. Now we're gonna see probably the swing first into Lily. And then it's
Yeah.
like from there, do you use the sunfall? Do you just use the deluge instead because you're not really in that big of trouble now? This is tangled.
It's difficult to say for sure, but the Memory Deluge looks like it's going to be cast. So if I'm Lady of the Crease, I definitely want to try to get as much card advantage as possible. The Cottage is not. I don't think you ever exile the Memory Deluge here because the Cottage is just not fast enough. It's not going to get that Deluge out. You might as well just exile something else or force Talia to use the Deluge this turn.
Mm-hmm.
Just not a terrible choice either. It's just hard because there's 7 mana up. Yeah, might as well.
Might as well, yeah. So there's going to be some choices here from the Glissa as well. Could remove counters, could get rid of the flipped wedding announcement, or could draw a card.
I actually really like the idea of removing the counters from the Dust Animus or drawing a card. The Animus kills in 3 hits. So it's difficult. Oh, removing 2 +1/+1 counters and the lifelink counter? Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only counter argument to this is that if you remove the counters, then Talia can just play Sunfall and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, you're forcing the wipe at this point for sure.
And in that case, then Lady of the Crease probably should use the Monster Dread Knight and draw a card just to allow herself to be able
Oh,
to potentially get something.
did not remove the lifelink counter. Interesting.
That's not. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I'm a sucker for drawing cards. I would probably always choose draw a card, lose a life, just because I like having options. I think it's important, and
Mm-hmm.
I see the Sunfall, so I don't think the Dust Animus has a long life.
All right, up to 16. Talia's come back
Yeah,
life-wise, and now board-wise as well, as that Sunfall has some wonderful value to it. And Faye looks like, again, Faye has just gotten, you can boo me for this, but control of the situation. I'm sorry.
boo, boo, bad pun,
I
bad
know.
joke alert. Wee woo, wee woo. Oh my God, that's it. It's over for you. I
Ugh.
can't believe it. I can't believe you would do something like that.
Looking like Dread Knight is going to enter the field here to create more of a board presence. And goes back over to Talia. This is still anybody's game, but you can slowly see Lady of the Crease's resources starting to deplete.
A little bit. It depends on what she draws.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that's really good.
Wow.
She,
So
she can
so here's
purpose. Good.
here's the hard part. You can't fully invest in the board, right? Because
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. So what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say there's even an argument that you just attack with the Dread Knight so that it dies, and
Mm.
then Dust kills it, and then you just get to draw another card. But the problem is that the Dread Knight or the Dust Animus is going to kill Lady of the Crease in 2 turns. Um,
Mm.
so it's hard to justify that.
2 turns. It would be, I guess you have the token there too. I'm looking at the food token that Lady of the Crease has as well on the field. Oh, it's another deluge. That's that value. And there's just so much respect for this card, right? Because it just causes control to constantly have that value engine that it needs. And since control supplies so many lands, it's it's just a perfect relationship between the two. That is a field of ruin, worth noting too, for all of Lady of the Crease's animated lands that are possible. Dust Animus down the middle, down to 6 for Lady of the Crease. Talia back up to 16. Lady of the Crease is going to choose to eat the food here, bringing her life total back up to 9. That is a cut down off the top. And while it does some things, I'm not sure that that is the draw that Lady of the Crease wanted.
Yeah, this
Huh?
is interesting because Lady Crease is trying to she's trying to stretch all of her resources to their absolute limit. For instance, I wonder if she's going to remember to tap for mana.
Mm,
Yes, search for a
mm-hmm.
basic and animate the second Restless Cottage. Yes.
That is exactly what's
Yes.
going on. Good play
That
by
is
Lady of the Crease.
that is the strat. That is yeah, that is min-maxing right there.
Definitely. So 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, the deluge can still be played. The question is, does Faye need the deluge to be able to finish this game? All right, the Dread Knight has been played. The die has been cast. All Faye needs to do here is cast Exile Wipe, right? Like, that's going to be really hard for Lady of the Crease to recover from.
Yeah, the only thing. So Lady of the Crease has to basically say, I really hope Talia does not have a single board wipe in the top 8 cards of
Yeah, I
Fair
was
Deck.
gonna say, like, 8 cards is kind of sizable, right?
Nah, surely it's fine.
Oh,
There are no.
surely.
Surely it's fine. There are no board wipes here. There are no board wipes here. Talia just has 7 cards in fair hand. There's no issue. There's no
Mm,
Sunfall.
I think Faye, and
Oh, there is the
there it
farewell.
is. Faye has it. Come on, was there any doubt? Was there
I
any doubt? Wow.
honestly, I would have been extremely surprised if Talia did not have a board wipe there. Oh, discarding card's not bad actually,
Yeah,
but
not a terrible draw, but it might be a little too late. Just a little bit.
just a little bit, like 1 millimeter, just a little bit too late.
keep in mind that there is still a token that Talia can animate, and that's pretty sizable at this stage of the game. All right, so 4-3 gets in. Let's see the discard from Talia. All right, so land creates a clue. The cottage can still be animated, but there's really, other than Takanuma, like what you were saying. No, Takanuma is not here. This is an Esper. So yeah, other than the deluge.
Oh.
Oh, we're just gonna stop there. Oh.
It's just it's just that easy. It's just that easy. You get to turn a wanderer down. You take the tokens. You put them on the battlefield. You attack for 1,000,000. Win the game.
Let's not forget about Eternal Wanderer's passive, right? Eternal Wanderer's passive states that no more than one creature can attack at each combat. And
it's such an amazing ability.
Oh my
god!
Wow!
The Wanderers, they're just here. They're here forever and ever. It's just that easy.
These cards in my nightmares tonight. Oh my goodness. It should have been called Farewell. It should have been called Eternal Nightmare, that white spell.
I mean, there you go.
Just wow, this is really, again, a really impressive put together board here, and just very much earned by Talia. Just beautiful, beautiful control being executed.
It's so over, unfortunately.
Where did this board come from? I felt like I blinked and all of a sudden, wow, Planeswalkers.
I mean, that's the cool thing about control is you have like 10 lands out and you can do that. You can play 2 Wanderers in 1 turn and you're like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll just do that. And it just works really well. It just gets there.
All right, so Frillback, a great utility card, by the way. Very big into this green card. Probably going to blow up the enchantment caused by Wedding Announcement. It feels like that was played a billion turns ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's an argument to kill the 5/5 because I don't. Is the one is I'm just thinking, is the +1/+1 like worth the difference to kill that over the token? Yeah, it is, because the Wanderers are making tons of tokens. So like in the long run, the artifact Sunfall token is not as bad as the Wanderer tokens. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. I'm trying to like, I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think of the alternate world where you take out the art construct, and I don't think that's ever right.
I have a feeling we're going to see an uptick in this deck this week, aren't we? The Azorius deck.
Blue-white control? I mean, it's already the second most popular deck in the league. Like, it's pretty insanely good. It's very versatile. It has extremely powerful white cards. The blue cards, I will say this. Blue-white control is mostly the white cards. Memory Deluge and, like, 3 Steps Ahead and No More Lies are all good cards. But the main focal point of blue-white control is the removal suite and the threats. Without those, the deck does not work. You need the board wipes. You need the Get Lost. You need the Wanderers. You need those in your deck to make your deck work. If you don't have those, you don't have a functioning control deck. The counterspells are nice, but if you theoretically took out the No More Lies, the deck is still functional because you have other counterspells and other removal spells to work with. But if you took out the Sunfalls, you're severely lowering your chances to win any game in Standard.
And again, that just raises the argument that Sunfall, again, is right up there with Raffine in terms of power in the Standard.
Yeah, and in terms of Raffine, like it absolutely smashes Raffine in the face. When you're playing against Esper and their turn 2 is a Bat, their turn 3 is a Raffine, turn 4 is a Shieldra, and you untap and you're like, wow, I can't wait to exile all of your creatures. Also, double Memory Deluge moment.
That is a lot. That is a lot. But again, we saw the top 8 cards. We were talking about that again. So that does nothing but just filter out the deck nicely. And there is Dust Animus again. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Dust Animus. And it could even be used in mid-range context as well.
I do like it. I mean, I could even see it being played in the Esper decks because getting 5 lands is not that hard. Though the problem is that they have to be untapped. So if it's a tap land that's being played on turn 5, the Animus always comes in as a 2/3. But it's a good anti-aggro card. The rate is already insane, a 2-mana 2/3 flyer. And then You plot it only for 2 mana, and when it comes down, you're playing it for free, so you can hold up counter magic if you need it. It doesn't get countered by No More Lies. It blocks pretty much everything.
Oh, there it
It's
is,
just great.
Iganjo once more there for the Glissa. And again, that was holding the board pretty well actually for LadyOfTheCrease. So that's a tough loss there. And again, another token out from Eternal Wanderer, and there's not too much more here LadyOfTheCrease can do. Again, we just saw that slow downhill progression. Goblin.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Have you considered that all of her goblins are now uncounterable? Like this is ridiculous. Like obviously Talia has to concede to that Cavern of Souls. It just it just wins her the game. Oh my god.
Well,
Anyway,
Talia, first of all, great games by both players.
blue white
Again,
control.
I know. I'm terrified. I'm truly that's where I was going with this. I am terrified right now.
I
But
mean,
every
what do I
deck in
tell you?
Magic, every deck in Magic does have a weakness though, and I'm curious as to
Yeah.
how one would go around that deck because oh my goodness, there was just so much value. I thought
Mm,
Golgari had value. That is the further value engine. But again, you have to get there, right? You have to play hard, you have to make sure every turn is calculated and you have to make sure to minimize losses because that deck can lose if it just has a rush of damage to it. But again, just beautifully executed there of Azorius control and just wow. GG's again to both players. Thank you so much for that match. All right. Well, again, we thought it was forever ago we saw the wedding announcement. Let's go forward. Wow, what a matchup here. And now we have, oh my gosh, and the clouds parted. And here comes a more aggressive deck now. We have Bant Toxic, another one that has been a favorite here. Also, nice Waffle House hoodie. Appreciate that. We have Texas Ranger MTG, and they are running Bant Toxic. We have the Venerated Rot Priest, the March of Swirling Mist, which is again another terrifying card, and the Crawling Chorus. And they start coming and they don't stop coming. That is that card. But my goodness, what a deck here! And again, I think it's safe to say that in this standard, Bant Toxic's just going to be one of those decks that doesn't go away for a while. What do you think, Kuro?
Yeah, this deck is one of those. It's a very it's not as meta as some of the other choices that you'll see, but it's one of those decks that'll just get you if you're unprepared for it. It's very cheap threats, very good disruption in a world that has a lot of 1 and 2 mana removal spells, and just enough interaction that you can basically get rid of whatever your opponent's doing. It's extremely cheap to play. All the spells cost 3 mana or less. You only need to really play 23 lands, which is what this deck is playing, and yeah, it's potent.
And potent indeed. Again, I always talk about mono red is about the count to 20, right? I covered this 2 weeks ago. Mono red is the count to 20. This is the count to 10. So if you are terrified of aggro or if you love piloting aggro decks, this is one of the ones you want to do. And you do it in such an indirect way using the March, using the Venerated Rot Priest. Very interesting. If you haven't seen this one, be sure you hold on to the edge of your seats because this is going to be a wild one. Their opponent, Texas Ranger MTG's opponent, is Andrea Smith. And again, just Dimir Midrange, another deck that kind of has like similar feels to Esper, right? It's basically Esper, and you take out the Rafine. You have a little bit more stability with your mana, and overall, this deck it has a horse in the race, so to speak. Sorry, I know Broncos there. It has a horse in the race against any other deck. Always has game. Very good deck. Kuro, what do you think about the way in which this deck, Dimir Midrange, is positioned in standard?
Now, I really want to see how Vladimir New Blood plays out here
Oh, okay.
because it seems like a really interesting piece, and there's a lot of cards that actually trigger it. Trespasser triggers it, Tidebinder triggers it, Hostile Investigator triggers it, Deep Cavern Bat triggers it. All the non-creature spells trigger it. So you have a lot of opportunities for this 2/2 to get bigger. The only issue, lifelink is normally extremely useful. However, in this matchup specifically, maybe not so much. Maybe not.
Well, this is going to be a rather interesting clash because this is one I haven't seen these two decks go at it yet. So let's head down to the battlefield for game number one. And all right, TexasRanger going first here. And, this is one of those hands. If you're an aggro player, this is one of those hands where I can justify the one laner. It's a tough one. It's a tough keep. But I do feel that there is a time and a place for one laners, and this could possibly be it, Kuro.
I agree. However, I probably would have cast Skrull first just in case. But other than that, like the crawling chorus is very nice. You have a fading hope for funsies. March of Swirling Miss. Like if Andrea decides I'm gonna cast this bat, TexasRanger just goes, okay, here's a bounce spell for you. Merry Christmas. Like it's just okay.
Yeah.
Andrea needs to look at this deck list and be very conscious about what TexasRanger might have in their deck. Andrea needs to think about, okay, TexasRanger might have a Spell Pierce. They might have a March of Swirling Miss. So anything I do to their creatures, I gotta do on my turn while they're tapped out. You can't just hold up mana like you would normally do, where you'd want to cast things on your opponent's turn to tap them out, because TexasRanger wants that tempo gain. Andrea Smith needs to kill those creatures. This is a great card, by the way, to be drawing.
Yeah, that is a trespasser from Andrea. So again, still on one land for TexasRanger, but this is still plausible, believe it or not. So again, going to pay here, swinging right on through with the crawling chorus, and it looks like we're going to see a second crawling chorus. This is all on one land, folks. This is pretty unbelievable for TexasRanger.
It's good though, because I think if I unironically think if TexasRanger draws a second card, second land, I mean, the game is over. Because
All
that
right.
Serum Snare is going to proliferate. It's going to bounce something, and it'll make it so Andrea has to block. That Trespasser coming in is a interesting choice. I think in this position, she is 2 turns away from losing. I do not know if I like not keeping up a blocker here. But then again, I guess the cost of count can come down. So
we're
maybe
gonna
it's fine.
see. We are anxious to see. Nope, that is a Reavh Priest off the top. So again, they are still looking for their second land. The March of Swirling Mist is still there, but again, these turns are going to be depleting pretty fast here for TexasRanger. Very tough clock, so to speak. So what do you do with the one land here, Kuro? Do you use it to help cards go down the middle? Do you swing all 3 down the middle? There are so many choices to be made here.
I would be tempted to march the Vadmir and then attack for 3 poison. But then I would. I'm not sure, because if you march and exile the Serum Snare, then you don't really have much else going on. Skrelv is gonna protect something.
Is it? Is it? All right.
Okay, all right. The chorus dying is not terrible because it's a might, so you actually don't lose the creature per se. TexasRanger is not planning on blocking here, so the fact that the token doesn't block is literally they do not give a bleep. Like it doesn't matter.
No, so again, we're seeing the might happening here. So at this point, we can both assume that Andrea has something, right? Yep, there it is. There's the go for the throat. On the crawling chorus, that's still intact. It's not on the might. So Skrelv gonna protect it. Not only does it attack, but it also protects.
It attack. But most importantly, it clap back.
It does. All right. So now it is night, which is very relevant for the Graveyard Trespasser, which is transformed at this point. And again, it's important to note that that can do damage. And that is a Gix. Oh.
So this is cool. So the Graveyard Glutton exiling cards triggers the Vadmir, hits the opponent, pays a life, draws a card. Life total does not matter because Andrea is basically playing against control. Looks at the hand, takes the March of Swirling Mist, I would reckon, most likely. That I think is what should happen here. Or the Serum Snare. I would not hate taking the Serum Snare. It takes away the March and it makes sure that TexasRanger can't just Serum Snare something and proliferate.
I just want to say more on a goofy note. I see blue mana on Andrea's side. And it looks like a mono black deck right now.
What's interesting here is that TexasRanger is actually threatening lethal right now. Next turn. if Andrea does not draw a removal spell for this Skrelv or this token, TexasRanger just wins the game, like on the spot.
Yeah, and we've talked about this earlier. I'm glad you mentioned this, Kuro. Life total doesn't always determine who's ahead, right? Because this is actually a super close game right now as a result. So Gix is going to draw because, again, TexasRanger is trying to count to 10, not to 20. So those draws perfectly safe for Andrea, considering the severity's second Deep Cavern bat. Wow.
Is this it? Is this it? Is there no removal? Is TexasRanger going to win this game with one freaking land?
This
That
would
is
be unbelievable. Unbelievable if that's the case. But wait, there's still 2 mana untapped. Oh, that is a
that's Skrelv.
Bronco. That's
Skrelv
still not.
needs to die right now. Skrelv living wins the game. This Skrelv needs to die. Okay. A Spell Pierce.
Oh,
That wins the
wow.
game. That's it. Because if Andrea has removal, it gets Spell Pierce. Andrea would have cast the removal spell by now anyway. That's it. The game is over. TexasRanger wins game 1 with 1 land.
Wow.
Against all odds. That's incredible. Only
Wow.
in the VML you would see this sort of stuff. Well, actually, that's not necessarily true, but I'm going to pretend it's true.
All right.
You know, always pick black here. Andrea Smith only playing black creatures, sort of kicking her in the butt right now. That's poison.
Yeah. Wow. I
Nope.
don't know what to say. What a comeback for TexasRanger. Just they were like, never didn't have it, kept their cool. I mean, you have to admire that, considering how much Magic was like Magic the game, like in terms of like the mana resources. It would have been so easy for them to go out and tilt, and they didn't. And you have to admire that in gameplay.
Absolutely.
On the flip side, again, Andrea did all the logical things that would be there. It was just the Skrelv. And even if the Skrelv was removed, there was second Skrelv still. Important to note there.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about Mother of Runes, right?
Oh no.
Well, okay. This is, oh my God, this hand is
So
literally a
that's a
polar
little too
opposite.
much. That's too much real estate. That's a little more reasonable, but I'm sure TexasRanger, I bet they wish that they had a little more pow to this hand, right?
I would keep this because turn 1 Chorus, turn 2 Skrelv, which is just really nice.
Oh
So
yeah.
Mother of Runes is basically what Skrelv does, but like without the cost. Oh no! No! Oh, wait. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Are
This hand's actually
you
incredible.
I'm
Okay.
confused right now based on what you're saying.
I'm losing my point. It doesn't matter anymore. It's double Raw Priest. Okay, all I'm saying is that Mother of Runes is a powerhouse. It's been around for a while. It's 1 mana for a 1/1. You get to keep your stuff protected. It's pretty insane. Skrelv is basically the same, except it's even better because it gives you guys Toxic. Double the value. It's a Phyrexian. It's great. It's an artifact, which is like synergy with other things. It's just, it's just incredible. The Mulligan to 4. What? What is this deck?
I love this. I love the gumption that TexasRanger has. It takes a lot to mulligan a hand down. Okay, so go for the throw on the Rock Priest. Again, the impossible is possible with this deck, right? I mean, it just does so much. So here's Rock Priest number 2. And again, just letting this ride out. We're gonna see what happens here. What does Andrea have here? What do we have? Okay, so Get Lost, pretty reasonable card here. Down the middle, but there is a Tide Binder, but it's not going to matter because TexasRanger says Get Lost. And that's going to be a second poison here already. So that's 2 down. That's
no,
a
Murex.
You gotta like that, actually. How wild would that be if Andrea poisoned here? I mean,
Time for the Uno reverse card. I'm gonna kill you with poison. See how you like it.
But that is a Gix, and that is a Trespasser off the top. But Andrea's like, no. There's something else I want here. And now the Rot Priest is stopped as this has become a flood for TexasRanger here in game 2. So if you're TexasRanger, is there anything in this deck, Kuro, that can generate the value that they have missed out on as a result of the mulligan, as a result of the land draws?
Like in the toxic deck,
Yeah.
a
Like, how can
Skrell's
this
Hive.
be recovered?
I think an earlier Skrell's Hive would have been really good here. Unfortunately, I emphasize the word early. Not having it for this long is probably going to be game here. The Gix
Okay.
is going to get in a few times. Liliana is going to make a discard. They're not going to be able to hold up any counter magic or anything like that.
So listen here. We had a
Yeah,
conversation before this cast about
yeah,
Liliana the Veil.
yeah.
How do you
We
feel
did.
about it now? How do you feel
Well,
about her now?
in this specific matchup, I really, really, really like her. The sacrifice gets around Venerated Rock Priest. The discard makes it impossible for TexasRanger to hold up counter magic. And TexasRanger is playing tempo. If Andrea makes TexasRanger discard like 2 cards, like that's it. There's nothing else is going to be able to happen here.
Well, you were
Oh,
talking about the hive. Now, it technically, and I love being technically correct, it's game 3. So we
it
do
is.
see the hive now, but it's just a game later than what you said before. Down
I
the
think that's.
middle for one. Go ahead. There's the value early.
I do like that. It's gonna be really useful, especially with the crawling course and the March of Swirling Mists.
Mm.
Rock Priest dying early is totally fine. The hive is gonna trigger here. The crawling course is gonna. Serum Snare is very nice.
Oh, yeah.
Bounce something nice. If the hive, like they try to kill the hive, you can bounce the hive. Try to play a creature that matters, like Tishon is Tidebinder. Time to snare.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what Gix right now? It's getting bounced. Serum Snare, bouncing the Gix back to the hand, and there will be proliferation here. That is up to 3. And wow, we have double Merrics here. There's just gonna be tokens. Is this possible for most decks to stop at this point, Crow? This is unbelievable here in game 3.
Andrea Smith needs to play a board wipe of some kind. Unfortunate. Oh wait, this actually might
I mean,
work.
so
Uh,
so so there's double token production, right? There's the Merrics and there's the hive.
Yeah. I think you just I think the play is use Murex, yeah. March
Yeah.
the investigator, and then just win like
Another
that.
Merrics. Wow.
Well, they don't really scale up unless you have like 8 lands. But that being said, that's 8 poison. The chorus dies, gets a 1/1. Oh, play Murex, hold up March of Swirling Miss if Andrea tries to play board wipe. TexasRanger, I think, always wins this game. Based on
This is
Andrea Smith's deck list. I don't
this
see
is
any board.
hard. This
Wait,
is
I see
hard.
Path
Oh,
of
oh,
Peril.
oh, Path to Peril. All right.
Yeah,
But
there's
March
Path
of
of Peril.
Swirling Mist. I mean, good
So the
card,
question
right?
is, does Andrea have the counterspell for this?
Mm-hmm.
She needs a counterspell right now.
Oh, all right. So,
Yeah, that's it.
remember how I said about grasping the edge of your chair? I was kind of on the edge of my seat for that entire matchup. And yeah, see, would you like to see that as an Azorius player? No, you wouldn't, because
No,
there's not
no, no,
much
no.
that gets around that.
That is the reason why I play stuff like Temporary Lockdown. Like Temporary Lockdown works really well for those types of decks.
Yes, it does.
And you have to have that counterspell up for the March of Swirling Mist. Like that's ridiculous. But also, like Get Lost deals with Skrull's Hive. March of Swirling Light gets rid of Skrull's Hive. So that's why the white option. Anyway, this is not a conversation about Blue Eye Control, even though I love talking about Blue Eye Control. Blue Black. I think
Yeah.
against most other matchups that would have been a lot more even, but unfortunately, because the toxic deck is spending so much time getting those little tokens, like the removal does not one for one that at all. And the bats do not do enough because they just And honestly, winning the game with 1 land, that deserves some credit.
It does.
That is a comeback story of all time.
I mean, we were talking about that. Like, there are times where you keep the one lander and that was
Yeah.
the time you keep the one lander. Unbelievable. So I'm so sad. We're already at the last match of the night here because all of the games we've had tonight have been wild in one direction or another. So I am totally stoked to see what is going to unravel next. So let's go to our last matchup. And we have another unique one. This is Jeskai Control. And this one is powered. And I say powered by Reavh here. Again, congratulations on the 4-0 this season. And again, this is just a really potent deck. We see the Deluge. It's back. It even says their cards to watch. And I looked in the deck list this time to make sure they had it. There it is for Deluge. So Jeskai Control, haven't seen too much of this deck. Would you like to let me know and let everyone else know, what does Jeskai Control do within the standard, Kuro?
Well, major changes here. We have Lightning Helix. We have Zergo and Ojutai, which is actually a pretty fantastic card advantage engine. If you don't want it to die to sorcery speed removal, just put it back in your hand. If you want it to die, it's okay. Mana Form Hellkite seems to be the feature card here. If you've ever played Shark Typhoon back in the day within Ikoria, it's very similar to this, except it's temporary tokens, but they're dragon tokens and they come in, they have haste. So if you play like 7 mana worth of spells, you just get a 7/7 for freezies. You can win the game that way. There's a lot less board wipes in this list, though. 1 Sunfall, 1 Farewell, 1 Burn Down the House. So it's definitely it's geared more towards Lightning Helixes than it is towards board wipes, for sure.
I like how you mentioned Burn Down the House, because that is a wipe. That is a wipe with 2
It is.
different modes, and it's good for any situation. Like, I can't think of a time where drawing Burning Down the House would make me feel sad. So pretty good one to include in there. So her opponent, we have 6/5, and again, just a fantastic deck we haven't gotten a chance to see too much of yet here. Gruul Ramp. And of course, did you know Turn the Peaks is back in standard? Turn the Peaks is back in standard. And
It
that
is.
with and I can understand why that would play such a role, especially if you consider Discover is also in this format. And I see that big dino. I see that big dino lurking back there. But we also see that Calamity is mentioned as a card to watch. So right here, what is this deck about, Kuro?
All right. Six Fists, I absolutely adore watching Six Fists play decks because they're always wacky, creative combo decks. This is a Calamity Galloping Inferno combo deck. The point is, all of these choices are very good choices for Calamity to copy. And and Calamity copies your thing twice. Copying Topiary Stomper twice, you get 2 Topiary Stompers. Copying Carnosaur twice, you get 2 spells. Copying Terror of the Peaks twice gives you 20 damage for free to anything. So yeah, because you get 2 terrors at the same time, and so the first Terror of the Peak registers 5 power, 5 power, and in each Terror of the Peak registers each other, and that's 2 additional 5 power triggers. That's exactly 20 damage with 2 cards. It is technically a combo. So all you have to do is just get those 2 cards down, you win the game. Good luck dealing with that.
Well, that is terrifying. And we're going to see if the Jeskai can disrupt the combo. This is going to be really cool. Let's go down to our final match of the evening, down to the arena. And okay, we've got Chandra Hope's Beacon, a fantastic card we don't get to see enough of, in my opinion. Meanwhile, we have Six Fists hand again. We have the Smuggler's Surprise and the Calamity there. So both these hands having a lot of potential. The question is the Jeskai control too slow? And Reavh says, no, this is okay. And Six Fists, they're also okay with their hand.
Well, looking at Six Fists list, you notice that like Six Fists doesn't plan on winning until turn 5, turn 6. So if you're is that Reavh? I feel like I'm saying that wrong. I'm sorry.
Yes, same.
If you're Reavh and you are playing against a deck like this and you see a hand like this, you're like, well, legitimately, I can just hold up Memory Deluge. Six Fists will never be able to counter it, so that's not ever an issue. I just need to be able to have a counter spell or some rule spell for if they land Calamity. That's the real issue. Unfortunately, Reavh actually doesn't have removal for this Calamity that's about to come down. She only has Memory Deluge. Sixfist has 2 Calamities, so they're willing to cast one, but they're not going to. Okay, never mind.
All right,
Whatever.
she cast
I
the
was wrong.
Memory Deluge. Let's see what she. Oh, well,
Oh
that's a
my.
choice. That's a choice now, isn't that, Kuro?
Well, let's see. Do you take land, or maybe you take land? Have you
We've
considered taking land?
we've had one, but what about second breakfast?
Yeah. This is why I'm here, to explain why you take land over land. That's my job. That's what I do.
But it is important to note
Nothing
that there
else.
is still a lot Reavh can do. There's a lot of choices here. But here comes Smuggler's Surprise. And what can be deduced from that? Again, sorry. Another land, apparently.
Wow, that was, you really said that. You really just said that joke.
I did.
Six Fists does not quite realize it yet, but they can actually just win the game right now. It's just what the problem is. Reavh is telegraphing a counterspell, but Six Fists could have played Smuggler's Surprise to drop Calamity and Terror of the Peaks, which is the 20 damage combo that I was describing. However, an 8/8 that can't be countered with Ward is also good enough.
That's pretty big, pretty hefty. However, one of the most powerful board wipes in all of Magic, farewell, took care of that in pinch.
All right, here we go. We're gonna see the combo. Let's do this.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready. I haven't seen this one yet.
We got a Calamity and a Terror of the Peaks. That's the first step.
All right.
Get them both down. Calamity. Well, first of all, Calamity hits. It's 4 to. Oh, we didn't get to see it. All right.
So can you explain that for folks who may have not seen that yet? Just specifically, like what would have happened there if it just would have gone through the loop?
So I'll go through. So step 1 is to play Smuggler's Surprise, putting 2 creatures on the battlefield. You put down Calamity and Terror of the Peaks. Step 2, Terror of the Peaks triggers, deals 4 damage to something because Calamity has 4 power. Step 3, you saddle the Calamity with Terror of the Peaks, which activates the ability. Doesn't activate it, sorry, but it enables the ability, which clones one of the creatures you used to saddle Calamity twice. Now you get 2 copies of the Terror of the Peaks, which means that you get the original Terror of the Peaks sees 5 power from 2 creatures. That's 10 damage. Then 2 copies Terror of the Peaks see each other enter, which is 2 additional triggers of 5 damage with 2 cards plus the Smuggler's Surprise. This is exactly 24 damage that cannot be blocked. Then you are attacking with Calamity and 2 Terror of the Peaks, 2 5/4 flyers, and a 4/6 haste. All together, this is, let's see, 24 plus 14 is 38 damage with 1 card, Smuggler's Surprise, plus 2 others. So 38 damage coming in all at once with no board previously. Very scary to play against for sure. That Calamity needs to die if it lands on the battlefield. Every time.
Wow. All right, so again, we see the Smuggler's Surprise here early, and there is some counter magic here from Reavh. All right. Again, the Jeskai colors are complete, as are the Gruul here. So Six Fists, they are playing the Bramble Familiar, but there looks like there's not going to be any more lies tied to this. So goodbye.
Yeah, if you're Reavh here after seeing what just happened, you need to be very proactive about countering the ramp spells. If Six Fists is not able to get out the ramp in time, then Reavh is not going to be able to deal with it. Hey, look, uncounterable dinosaur.
Whew. Yeah, again, we're seeing Cavernous Souls here. It could be used to get rid of those nasty counter spells, or it could be used just as a good mana fixer. Either way, can't go wrong with it inside Six Fist stack.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Smuggler's Supplies really quickly. It is a modal spell from the new set, Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It does 3 things. The first mode is the simplest mode. It lets you look at the top 4 cards. You mill 4 cards. It costs 3 to do so. And you get to put up to 2 creatures and or lands. That's and or lands. It is not like Mulch where you can only take lands. It is not like Grapple with the Past where you can only take 1. You may take 2 of any combination of creatures and lands. That's insane. The third mode is that creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain hexproof and indestructible. So if you don't want your opponent dealing with your big stuff, that is the best way to make that happen. The most crucial mode is the 5 mana mode to make the spell cost 6 mana, and that is the mode that says you get to put 2 creatures from your hand onto the battlefield for free. You are not casting them, but it's still insanely good.
Oh, that's a big dino, by the way, in 6 hand.
And it's uncounterable because of the cavernous souls.
Looks like it might be smuggled out though, based on what I'm seeing. And as you said, that cannot be countered. By the way, another very deadly card. Don't know if it's going to play a role within this specific matchup, but Reavh has Galactic Iteration, which again, we once saw that to duplicate turns, Kuro. And here comes the smuggler's surprise. Here comes the exciting part of Six Fist deck. And let's see what happens.
Oh, Reavh, let this resolve. That's so interesting. I would have used negate on that, to be honest. Like that card drew 6 fists, 2 of their biggest bombs in the deck. Like allowing them to get those cards is going to be extremely bad for Reavh. That Tyrannosaurus Rex is not going to die anytime soon. That Thrun is uncounterable. The Carnosaur is uncounterable. There's not a lot in 6 Fifths deck that is counterable by negate at all. It's Smolar Surprise, Glimpse the Core, and Obliterating Bolt. Like you need to counter the surprise. Oh, I see. Reavh is holding it up for the big one. Sure, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, this seems like a good way, this combo deck, to offset control, right? It would be the aggro decks you'd need to watch out for. The aggro mid decks specifically, both of those. Because if this gets out of hand quickly, holy moly, does this do a lot. All right,
Yeah,
that
Tyrannosaurus Rex is so nice here. No, I was just gonna say the Tyrannosaurus Rex is so nice here. Just a big old 8/8 that's uncounterable, can't be killed. And if Reavh ever taps out to wipe the board, there's always the risk that she could just die.
But there is Farewell. But the thing is, like, Farewell would seem big here, right? But speaking of big, I mean, look at Six Fist hand. There's 2 Carnosaurs. There's Thrun. I mean, there's so many threats right now, and there's only so much that can be done. Looks like Get Lost is being used here instead for the Rex, and Tidebinder used for the ward. Yeah, interesting. That's a good move by Reavh.
I like that. It costs 1 less mana, so it allows Reavh to keep up the negate. That's really, really important because now the Smolar Surprise cannot just get in there.
All right, so the map to the card draw, and that is an armadillo. By the way, the armadillo is super cute. I just want to say armadillo on the top.
Boo! Armadillo.
All right, down the middle with the big ol' 5/5 Topiary. Tidebinder blocks it because why not? The target's already been resolved, destroyed. Nothing happens as a result. And Trailblazer, presumably for the extra mana.
Carnosaur or Thrun?
Looks like Thrun.
Okay. Thrun's fair. Fair card.
All right, Trailblazer again for a draw. And this looks like a pretty sizable field. Again, in this matchup, it's probably important to not overcommit to the board, but this is a sizable enough board here. Enough to present lethal, but not too much to overextend. Back over to Reavh's turn. And of course, we will see the Farewell here because, yeah, have you seen everything else?
I think there's an argument you made that you exile the graveyards, just in case.
Absolutely. Yep. Why not? Iteration wasn't in the yard anyways.
Yeah.
All right, 6 Fists here. Going to get a land here. That makes sense. Also, gaining life is, rarely a bad thing. So, Armadillo here being used for some good stuff.
I mean, 6 Fists was really in a lot of trouble here, being attacked for 0 damage every single turn. They were at the very low life total of 20, needing to go back up to 23. Very important.
I mean, I see Iteration. I know what that card's capable of, right? Here comes the negate for the Smuggler's Surprise, saying, no, not this time.
Now, that was an interesting play because 6 Fists had a Cavern of Souls naming Dinosaur, I think. So casting a Carnosaur is a completely reasonable thing. Oh my god. Wow. Just calamity.
Whew.
Well, there you go. Oh, look, another dinosaur.
The Stomper for another land. And then again, this reduces the odds of 6/5 drawing a land because you're taking one out of the pool here. So again, another lethal presenting board, but there is a Wandering Emperor in Reavh's hand. So just saying, that's a pretty key card here. And can get rid of the Carnosaur. Let's see. Oh, that is... Wow. That was a draw.
Oh my god. I see.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm Reavh here, that Galvanic iteration is looking so sad. I just don't know what to do with it. You can't copy Memory Deluge because it's a 0. You can't copy a board wipe. I don't know.
Interesting.
I'm having trouble seeing why it's useful in this deck, unfortunately.
Wandering Emperor. Ridgeline targeting the Topiary because, again, cannot be removed. The Wandering Emperor can do that. And that goes to 6. 3 is 9. So close.
Damn. Carnosaur? I mean, why not? It doesn't really matter if you play into a board wipe or not because the Calamity can always come down and the Restless Ridgeline can also come down. So 6/5 has a lot of options here and not a lot of ways to lose.
So many Topiary Stompers this game.
Stomp. There's land.
You know, I thought the control decks were supposed to have all the land, but I'm looking over at 6/5's field. That's a lot.
I'm looking at Reavh just drawing land after land after land. It's so unfortunate. I just don't. Yeah, the Memory Deluge and 3 Steps Ahead are really nice, but I don't know. There's something about it. I guess it's just not having as many board wipes. The 3 in the main, and then in the sideboard, all there really is Brotherhood's End. So there just aren't enough board wipes to deal with 6/5's entire plan.
I appreciate this from Reavh.
Yo, time to cast Final Fortune, get 3 extra turns, lose the game 3 times! Let's go! A funny play!
There's so much. There's so much going on there. That is a massive field, massive on the creatures, and just, wow. I love that deck. That deck's pretty sweet.
That's crazy. That was a really cool deck. Explosive and also very reliable.
And again, it just goes to show you in VML, like, you can literally run into any deck in Standard. It is absolutely impossible to prepare for every single one. So, I mean, my advice for someone, if they were asking me what deck to pick, try to pick a deck that has, like, a chance to win many matches. It can't win against every deck, but try to pick one that always has a horse in the race, so to speak. What is your advice for someone this week, Kuro?
I think sideboard a lot more aggressively against what you think your weak points are. If you think you're weak against aggro, sideboard aggressively against it. If you think you're weak against control, sideboard aggressively against it. Like get in duresses. If you think that you're, it's hard to take into account every possible fringe deck that you haven't seen before, but always remember that the core archetype of a deck doesn't change. A combo deck is still a combo deck. It just matters what they do to get that combo off. If you can address it at the heart of its core, you'll be able to get there. That's the control player speaking. Or mono red, I'd be like, bring your cards sideways or something.
I'll be honest, I love mono red. I'm absolutely a big advocate for it. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to play it in the current Standard. I mean, it has game, don't get me wrong, but after everything I've seen today, I'm just like, with each match, like I just sink further into my chair about all the different scenarios you can run into. And that's what makes this so awesome, right? That's what makes it so exciting to have folks come back week after week. And if you are new here to the VML, if you're watching tonight and you're new, be sure to bop that follow button. We are here on Fridays delivering some of the most exciting matches week after week here. So, Kuro, do you have any closing thoughts to the matches we saw tonight?
Play blue white control. It's the best archetype. Totally not biased.
And I say play the rest of them in response to that.
Next week, it's like 90% blue white control. All of the bios are like, because Kuro told me to. And it's just like, don't. Play what you enjoy playing and do your best.
I agree.
That is my actual advice.
That's great advice. No, I would second the second advice. Let me just put it that way. The second advice of play what you enjoy, have fun, and just do the best you can each week. That's all you can ever ask here. And again, just thank you again to my casting partner here, Kuro. Just always a fun time to have you here. I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me.
All right, so Kuro, question. How can someone find you on the internet? What do you do on the internet? How might one find the content creation side and everything that you do involving it?
Well, I spend time on Twitch sometimes. My Twitch handle is Kuro Katamari, and I am also on Discord a lot. I don't actually have that much internet presence otherwise, but yeah, I am on Discord quite frequently. So hit me up. I'm always down to play some Brawl or something else like that.
And you can find me, Skybilz. Twitch.tv/Skybilz is probably the most common place you're going to find me. I stream most nights of the week. And I just got done with the Modern Horizons 3 early access, and Wizards had given me access to that. Very thankful and appreciate that. I had a lot of fun. Be sure to draft Modern Horizons 3 at some point. I do definitely want to plug that. That is a lot of fun. I'm at YouTube, also at Skybilz as well. Everything is pretty much Skybilz fluidly on Twitter, Skybilz, Blue Sky, Skybilz, etc. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much again to you, Kuro. Had a lot of fun. And of course, speaking of thanks, I'd love to give thanks to Wizards of the Coast, to Phoebe. Shout outs to Phoebe. Thank you so much for everything, Phoebe. We would not be where we are without you. So thank you so much on behalf of the VML for your wonderful tech and support. We also have our lovely admin team, casters, the players. Thank you so much for the games tonight. Had a ton of fun watching them. Thank you so much for everything. And of course, to you, the viewers, been seeing a lot of folks in chat tonight, a lot of first timers. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. And again, please come back next Friday. You're not going to want to miss a minute of the action. So again, on behalf of the VML, I'm Skybilz, and we have Kuro here as well. And we will see you all in future weeks. Take care and have a good evening, everyone.